saw a sign there, and on that sign said, no trespassing. But on the other side, it didn't say nothing. That sign was made for you and me. This land is your land, this land is my land. From California to the New York Island, from the redwood forest to the Gulf Stream water. This land was made for you and me. In the shadow of the steeple, I saw my people. They were kneeling prophets. I see more people, and some were hungry, and some were wondering if this land still made for you and me. Nobody trembles, nobody stop me as I go walking that freedom highway. Nobody living can make me turn back, 'cause this land was made for you and me. This land is your land, this land is my land. From California to the New York Island, from the redwood forest to the Gulf Stream water. This land was made for you and me. This land was made for you and me.
Thank you, Tom Castle. Let's give Tom a round of applause. So, folks, if you could find your seats, we'll get started. So if you could continue the conversation a little bit later, but let's get our program started. So please find your seat. On behalf of CFL President Bob Reiter, the CFL Executive Board, including some CFL Executive Board members who are in the house right now. Thank you. And the more than 300 local unions and the 500,000 union men and working women and union women and men in Chicago, Cook County, welcome to the Illinois Labor History Society's 2024 Union Hall of Honors. I want to thank all the ILHS members who do so much to preserve, to remember, and to keep alive our labor history. It's the foundation and the bedrock of the hometown of the American labor movement, right? We all know there's a change a-coming in 2025, but workers and the labor movement, we're going to be challenged. And, I've talked to some folks, they feel like we have our backs to the wall from this incoming administration, zeroes in on unions and workers. But, there's that saying that those who forget history are doomed to repeat it. And here in Chicago, labor history reminds us of what happens when the big, the wealthy, and the powerful, when they put workers down, when they exploit, disrespect, and devalue workers. What do? Right, get up and fight, right? We get up and fight. We get up and fight, and we organize. And we got to look at labor history as our guide. That's what happened here in Chicago over 100 years ago. I mean, our numbers, our union density was in the single digits. What we did, we got up and we fought, and we grew to about a third of one of every 3 workers in the country was a member of a union. And it all is thanks to what happened here in Chicago, right? So we know history. And thank God for the Illinois Labor History Society for preserving, for keeping that history, for helping us remember that history. When we're down, when we get roughed up in this fight, let's think about what it took for us to get here. And we know that history. We know what we need to do to get back in there. So, from the Haymarket, the stockyards to Pullman, steelworkers massacred, so many more events. That's why we call Chicago the hometown of the American labor movement, right? Yeah. So we're seeing history about to repeat itself, but thanks to ILHS, we know our history, and we know what we're called to do. So here now is Larry Spivak, ILH president, with some of that history. Larry.
It's a good thing my speech isn't projected on the screen. Greetings, brothers and sisters, and thank you for being here this evening. In the immortal words of Charles Dickens, of all people, it was the best of times, it was the worst of times. Words that will always ring true until, of course, the advent of utopia. What is also true is that the labor movement must continue to be one of the nation's leading institutions in making these the best of times and counteracting the forces that create the worst of times. Since history can be a guide, I'm prone to argue that the lessons we learn or don't learn from history are key to our successes and failures. Having said that, we come together tonight to celebrate individuals who have used the lessons of history to move us all forward toward the best of times. In honoring Eric Dean, Ed Smith, and Harold Washington, we are also honoring the many successes of the labor movement. Memory can be an abstraction, but memory also serves to create action and change, and that is really why the Illinois Labor History Society exists, and why it was founded in 1969, and why we share the stories and preserve the monuments that guide us into the future. Tonight, in addition to honoring those who have built our movement, I also want to thank my fellow Illinois Labor History Society board members who volunteer to keep labor history alive. Would all the board members who are present please stand? We also have a couple people here who have been honored in our Union Hall of Honor in years past, and I would ask for you to stand as well. Katie Jordan, Alma Washington, Rich Rowe, Ironworkers 63. Tonight, in addition to, I also want to recognize the woman standing back there, Cal Ramsden. She is our director. She makes this happen. She's the one, Carol's the one for the last couple of years that has helped keep the society afloat day to day, month to month, and year to year. I would be remiss if I didn't thank the Chicago Federation of Labor for their partnership with us in collaborating on our May Day celebrations and every year in Haymarket Square, and helping to build a presence with us at the Pullman National Historic Park. I want to thank President Bob Ryder and Secretary Treasurer Don Villar, our magnificent MC this evening. And a big thanks are in order to the Illinois AFL-CIO for their ongoing support. Thank you, Tim Dre and Pat Devaney. And finally, thanks to all of you. All of you. It is your support that allows the ILHS to continue to bring labor history to light. And don't forget, you can also leave a few pennies in those envelopes. I think you all have an envelope, and there isn't an MSRP, but you know, $1,000, $50, $5, whatever you can spare. Thank you. I hope you can see from the screen behind me, that was in my, I don't know what happened, but it would have shown you the many, literally a couple scores of events that we participated in, that in terms of tours, in terms of presentations, from Haymarket to the Steelworkers to what Mike Matika with Your Laborers has been doing in downstate Illinois and across the state. But without going into a list of all those things, that's how I'm keeping my comments short tonight, because there are many things. I do want to highlight a couple of things from this year that personally I felt were very powerful. Of course, Haymarket, the celebration on May Day, bringing in the labor movement from Iceland and Argentina to dedicate a plaque at the Haymarket Memorial. As you know, we now have plaques from all around the world on that monument, and I hope that they keep coming, and I'm sure that they will. And I also want to acknowledge the signing of our partnership agreement with the National Park Service, where we are a full partner and interpretive partner as well. And nowadays, it seems that when people request a tour from us, Pullman is always on the list. And the National Park Service, the Historic Pullman Foundation, and together with them, and of course the Porter's Museum, whose executive director, David Peterson, is here tonight. We are doing great work down there. Anyway, if you saw the list, which I'm not going to go through it, I think you would understand why the LHS is the nation's premier labor history society. I will leave you now to enjoy what I hope is a fine dinner and a rewarding program. Thank you so much, and solidarity, everyone.
Mayor Harold Washington, the late mayor, he was also a stalwart supporter of workers and the labor movement. And his support was key in the growth of public sector unions. So, that's right. To induct our first honoree, I'd like to call up AFSCME Council 31 Executive Director and CFL Executive Board Member, Roberta Lynch. And accepting the honor on behalf of the late mayor will be his niece, Karen Stone. So if you could come up as well.
All inside found a jet and the money was for keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on.
Let's take a picture with Karen. Want to give you a speech first? Let's take a picture.
So I come to talk about Harold Washington from two perspectives in a way, because I worked on Harold Washington's campaign. For those of you who know Chicago, I was the co-coordinator of the lakefront effort for Harold. And what I can say is, I can think of few times in my life when there was more energy, more enthusiasm, more passion, actually elation in this city. I see a badge right there. We had the blue Washington badges, and everywhere you went in the city you saw them, and every time you saw somebody wearing them, your heart lifted because you knew that people were coming together in a way that they had never come together before in Chicago. That was the power of Harold Washington. That was the beauty of Harold Washington. And then there was Harold Washington. So there was Harold Washington, the unifier. There was Harold Washington, the defender of people in this city. And there was Harold Washington, who throughout his years in politics, in the Illinois Senate, in the United States Congress, was consistently, we like to say, a friend of labor, and he was, but I'll say it, he was a defender of working people. He was a fighter for working people. A lot of politicians want to say they're our friends, especially come election time. Harold Washington was our friend, our true friend, day in and day out for all those years that he served. And then there was Harold Washington, who became the mayor. The Harold Washington who was the leader of the city. The Harold Washington who helped to transform the labor movement in this state. Because for decades, some of you know it well, for decades, public employees in this state lagged behind so many other states. 5 decades after the National Labor Relations Act supposedly established bargaining rights for workers in this country, public employees were not covered. We had to go state by state to get those rights. And in New York, in Pennsylvania, in Ohio, they had those rights. In Illinois, supposedly, we think now a blue state, we did not have those rights. And the reason we did not was that the mayors, plural, of the city of Chicago, in every instance, blocked any effort to pass a collective bargaining law for public employees in Illinois. Year after year, we fought those battles, a little step here, a little step there, and it was always the Chicago mayor pulling the strings of the Democratic Party in Springfield that blocked passage of that legislation. When Harold Washington got elected, within 1 week of his inauguration, he sent his team to Springfield to meet with us to begin the work of passing a collective bargaining law for public employees in the state of Illinois. And within that year, within less than a year, the job was done, the bill was passed, it went to the governor's desk, he signed the bill, and life was transformed for the tens of thousands of workers in this state who joined unions in the ensuing years. Some of you who organize now, and you know how tough it can be, in those days people were rushing up to us to sign cards. Right? They were ready to join. They wanted a union. They craved a union. And thanks to Harold Washington, they had a union, and they have it today. So I could not be happier to present to the family of Harold Washington this award honoring him for his lifelong dedication to the working people of Illinois.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you. I am honored and thrilled to be here to accept the award on behalf of my uncle, the late Mayor Harold Washington. Thank you, Illinois Labor History Society, Harold's family, and the Harold Washington Legacy Committee of Directors. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts for honoring the late Mayor Harold Washington for the 2024 Union Hall of Honor Award. Your acknowledgement of Harold's unwavering fight for fairness for all with respect to his work with collective bargaining speaks to the ongoing legacy he branded for all of Chicago. And when my uncle said all, he meant all. Thank you for remembering Harold's passion and hard work toward inclusiveness. Harold understood the deep tentacles of the worker is rooted in respect for their trade. He understood how leading with that respect grew inspired, committed, and motivated professionals, giving them renewed confidence that spread throughout the community. Tentacles that reached out to create a positive impact on their lives and the lives of their families. This was Harold's Nova, raising the bar of fairness to create a better life for all he served. I believe Harold would agree with the renowned laureate Rabindranath Tagore when he wrote, and I quote, "I slept and dreamt that life was joy. I awoke and saw that life was service. I acted, and behold, service was joy," end quote. I want to close by thanking the inspiring directors of the Harold Washington Legacy Committee for their amazing work in keeping Harold's legacy of service alive and fresh for today's and future generations to come. If I can please have the directors stand for a round of applause. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen, and thank you, Roberta. Yeah. In the labor movement, one thing that you find when you travel around the country is that many people from Chicago or Illinois are leading their internationals or taking prominent roles. You know, again, Chicago is the hometown of the American labor movement. We're also hometown to many national labor leaders and activists. And maybe it's in the water, Lake Michigan water, Chicago water, maybe it's in the air, but it's in the spirit of workers and worker justice that grows here in Chicago. And one of those Chicago leaders is Iron Workers General President Eric Dean. To introduce Brother Dean is Iron Workers District Council President and CFL Executive Board Member James Gardner. James?
Gonna roll, our union line. Gonna roll, our union line.
Got to put my glasses on here. Thanks, Don. Thanks, everybody, for being here tonight. Okay, I got it now. It's an incredible honor to stand up here tonight and speak about somebody whose career, leadership, and character inspires us all. That's Eric Dean. Eric is more than just a boss. He's a mentor, he's a coach. He's a visionary leader who brings out the best in his team. Eric's journey is nothing short of extraordinary. It began in 1980 when he started his apprenticeship, and by 1984 he became a journeyman in Iron Workers Local 63. Over the years he worked as a journeyman, foreman, project superintendent, building not only his technical expertise but also his leadership skills. In 1989, Eric stepped into the role of apprentice instructor, earning the status of certified welding inspector. His commitment to his craft was matched only by his dedication to his local union, where he served as conductor, trustee, vice president, and business agent. It was clear to everybody that Eric was destined for greater leadership roles. In 1999, General President Jake West appointed Eric as a general organizer for the International, assigning him to the Department of Ornamental, Architectural, and Miscellaneous Metals, also known as DOME. By 2005, Eric was elected president of the District Council of Chicago. Eric's leadership continued to rise. He was appointed General Vice President in 2008, General Secretary in 2011, and on July 1st, 2015, the General Executive Council unanimously elected him as General President. These roles are a testament to his relentless work ethic, vision, and passion for advancing the mission of organized labor. Today, we celebrate yet another milestone, Eric's incredible career, his induction into the Union Hall of Honor. This recognition is not just for his remarkable career, but his achievements for his lifelong advocacy for union and human rights. Eric has dedicated his life to championing fairness, dignity, and respect for workers everywhere. His induction is well-deserved acknowledgement of his impact, not only on our organization, but on the labor movement as a whole. What sets Eric apart isn't just his list of accomplishments, it's who he is as a person. Eric's the kind of leader who stays grounded no matter how high he rises. He's never been one for flash or attention. He lets his actions speak louder than words, carrying himself with a humility that's rare in someone with such an extraordinary resume. Eric's the same person in a room of dignitaries as he is on a job site or if you meet him at the corner bar. He's genuine and respectful. It's not Eric's nature to seek the spotlight. In fact, he's happiest when the focus is on work being done on the people around him. His life has never been about material wealth or status, it's about purpose. He's a man who finds joy in building not only structures, but relationships, trust, and a legacy of fairness and opportunity. What makes Eric so effective as a leader, it's not just his resume, it's his approach. He listens. He listens with intention, making each of us feel heard and valued. Like a great coach, Eric knows how to recognize strengths and assigns tasks so that to set us up for success. He doesn't just give us work, he gives us opportunities to shine. Eric's leadership is also deeply rooted in gratitude and humility. As we honor Eric today, we must also acknowledge Judy, his wife and partner, whose support has been vital to his journey. While she cannot be with us tonight, her role in Eric's life and career has been immeasurable. Together they have built a life centered on shared values and mutual respect, and her influence is felt in all that Eric has achieved. And although Eric has risen to the position of General President, I think he considers his greatest success to be his family. His pride in his kids and grandkids is unmistakable, and it's clear that they are the foundation of his life. For Eric, family is not just a priority, it's his legacy. As I close, I want to recognize Eric not just as an exceptional leader, but as a friend. Eric, your loyalty and your kindness and your ability to inspire those around you have left an indelible mark on my life and the lives of so many. It's a privilege to call you a colleague, a mentor, and a friend. So today, as we celebrate Eric Dean's induction into the Union Hall of Honor, let us reflect on his remarkable career, his unwavering commitment to advocacy, and the value he embodies every day. Eric, thank you for your leadership, your vision, and your friendship. You made us all better. Please join me in giving Eric a well-deserved round of applause. Thank you, Jim. So I'd like to thank the Illinois Labor History Society. Larry, thank you. You've run out of living candidates, so you deceased candidates, so you picked me. So thank you very much. The Illinois Labor History Society, the attendees, all the people who bought ads, all the people who traveled a great distance. To all my brothers and their families and sisters and the ironworkers, thank you for showing up. Thank you. I'd like to also thank the entire labor movement. It's something where I thank God every day my ancestors landed in the city of Chicago. You see, Illinois and Chicago have been some of the most pivotal labor history in this country. Illinois is deep and rich, from the Haymarket riot to the Pullman strike to the Heron Miners strike downstate to the labor uprising of 1877. Every time there was a fight, we fought back. We rose up and we helped found most of the nation's unions. There's a lot of local ones in and around here. There's some in other big cities as well. But the issue is we learned when capital was keeping working men and women down, we found different ways. Some of it, quite frankly, through violence, through fighting. We had to fight the elected officials, the moneyed interests, the government, and the courts. Things are eerily similar today as they were back then. History tends to repeat itself, but we're not going to lay down and we're not going to back up. Quite frankly, something that's pissed me off all my life is that the world celebrates May Day, and we graciously got a day in September to commemorate workers. And I think it's crap that May Day is celebrated off the Haymarket riot, and the whole world celebrates the martyr of workers, working men and women, and here we are getting the concessionary day sometime in September. It's always been keeping the working man down. Five generations of my family have been ironworkers and have not only worn a tool belt and worked at the trade, but they've been leaders in the union, advocating on behalf of a common goal for dignity in the workplace, fair wages, retirement security, health care, and a safe working place. And we did that by building solidarity, by fighting the fights that need to be fought. And we learned over time to ally with elected officials and have them be on our side rather than against us. And so when we see good elected officials, not only have we dabbled in all those other things, we dabble a little bit in politics as well. It's necessary. You have to be relevant with the elected officials if they're going to make laws that affect working men and women. I humbly accept this award on behalf of my entire family, my local Union 63, every local in the Ironworkers International that's given me the privilege to serve as their president. I would be remiss without saying thanks to the love of my family, my wife, my kids, my grandkids, guidance from my mother and father, and the many leaders that help advise and shape me along the way. I didn't get here alone. Moving on to Brother Ed Smith. Can't tell you what an honor it is for me, Matt, and please tell your mom and your family that my name is mentioned on the same night for the same award as Ed Smith. You see, I grew up in this labor movement, and Ed Smith was a giant in the Illinois labor movement. And one time, I went with a group from Cisco, a labor management group, to lobby Speaker Madigan on some legislation for construction reform. And when we were through and we made the greatest pitch in the world about what we were there for, Speaker said, and Ed, you heard this before, so no one else has in the room, what does Ed Smith think about this law? I raised my hand, 35-year-old union rep. Who's Ed Smith? He said, son, if you don't know who Ed Smith is, I suggest you find out. So there you are. I found out who Ed Smith was. He was a dynamic leader for Laborers International. And then when I got to Washington to serve as General Secretary, who's there but Ed Smith?
organizing labor's capital for the benefit of working men and women, getting us a seat at the table in corporate boardrooms, investing in jobs, doing job creation, and improving labor standards on those projects, and returning very handsome investments back to our members or providing insurance coverage necessary for union leaders. So it's truly a privilege and an honor for me to be a board member under Ed Smith's leadership. One of the last things while Ed was still CEO of Ullico, Mr. Hunt retired from the Ironworkers from that position, and I assumed that position of Ullico board director. So here I am tonight, humbly accepting this honor on behalf of the Ironworkers Union and my family. And then I'm going in side by side with one of the greatest labor leaders I know. And then somebody I got to serve on that Ullico board, and I still sit there today. The returns are tremendous for your pension funds. And Ed had a big picture about how to not only knock on a door, but sometimes how to pound on that door. So I learned from him and many others. To each and every one of you, I have a lot of friends in here. You've serviced our locals, whether you're our pension providers or you're in the industry or fellow tradesmen. Thank you all for the honor, this honor. And it is a blessing to be born in Chicago and be part of this labor movement and have leaders like Don and Mike Masaleo and Bob Ryder. Thank all of them for this behalf, and thank Tim Dre and Pat Devaney. I know they were here. And I know you saw Susanna and Tim, or Mike Frericks, and is Landslide here still? We have a state representative who won by 57 votes last week, so anyway, he's here as well. Thank you all. Privilege and an honor.
Again, congratulations, Eric. By the way, we just want to acknowledge again Jim Gardner. 2 days ago, he was at this dais. Jim was honored with the George Meany Award by the Scouting USA. So he was right here doing the same thing as he did tonight, Jim. And as Eric mentioned, our honoree tonight, Ed Smith. Another Illinois labor leader who would go on to reach some great heights, and leading Ullico. He may be gone, but he hasn't been forgotten. Again, sadly, he passed away earlier this year, but man, I still remember his voice, that booming bass voice, and just his leadership. And to induct Ed is Ullico CEO and President Brian Hale. Brian. And to accept the honor will be Ed's family.
Oh, you can't pull me, I'm sticking to the union. I'm sticking to the union till the day I die.
That's a good song. That's a good song to honor Ed Smith. That's definitely right. Absolutely. Hey, will you guys keep inviting a guy from Tennessee with a southern accent to your parties, because I was one of Ed Smith's guys back in the day, and he discovered me and believed in me, so I'll always owe him a debt. I want to first congratulate Eric Dean on your honor tonight. Congratulate you on that, and also thank you for your service on our board of directors. Eric is a great voice in the Ullico boardroom, and him being recognized tonight is very fitting. I also want you to know that after this, you've got your keynote from our chairman and general president emeritus, Terry O'Sullivan. And what Ed Smith would say to me right now is, "Hey, Brian, you're a dime holding up a dollar, so get out of the way." So I'll try to be brief here, but I'm so honored to be with you. Ed Smith was a champion of the American labor movement with a visionary business mind and a unique ability to inspire others. And those characteristics fueled his long career and helped to cement his status among the greats in the history of Illinois labor leaders. He understood leverage. Leverage has many definitions, but Ed understood leverage, and he acted boldly, and he never forgot who he was fighting for. He was fighting for working people, to make working people's lives better. He got results, whether it was leveraging union pension investments to create union jobs, or his incredible energy for organizing while he was with the laborers at Local 773, the District Council, and the region, and the International. The labor movement wasn't a job for Ed, it was a calling, and one passed down from him to him from his father, Connell, who Ed is joining tonight in this Hall of Honor, which I think is very special. Ed was an absolute force within the labor movement in Illinois. When he took over as business manager, Local 773 in Southern Illinois, Local 773, thank you for being here tonight, appreciate that. At the age of 21, his union, thank you, absolutely, recognize, Ed was very proud of 773, with a great history with the Smith family. 773 in Southern Illinois, when he took over at the age of 21, his union members, they were numbered, the members of the local were numbered in the hundreds, 300 or 400 members. Ed knew that to have a real impact that 773 needed to grow. And after 39 successful organizing drives, Ed expanded his local to include more than 4,000 members. Those are great stories. That success led him to be a leader in Southern Illinois and throughout this state, and then he became a Southern Illinois Laborers District Council leader in 1985, and by 1994, Ed took his signature all-in approach to the region, and he was the LIUNA Midwest Region Vice President and Regional Manager. My father was a counterpart to him. I can remember I was 14 years old the first time I met Ed Smith at a union convention, and I never will forget that. My dad and he were really good friends. True to form, Ed made the region one of the most innovative in the Laborers International Union of North America. He initiated state and federal PACs allowing the laborers to elect pro-labor candidates in the Midwest. He also placed a lobbyist in every state legislature within the Midwest region, resulting in the passage of pro-union legislation. He also urged union members to run for local office, and he worked to help make their campaigns successful. Ed loved politics. If you knew him, you knew that. He loved politics. He loved to talk politics. It was tough going through this last political season with not having Ed the ability to pick up the phone and call him and say, "What are you thinking? What are you thinking?" Well, I love doing that. He knew that politics got labor a seat at the table in the most important rooms in this state and more broadly in our country. His efforts made a difference. Before long, statewide candidates made a point to visit Ed because they knew that he was going to be critical to their chances of winning an election in this state. He loved politics. He was a delegate to the DNC from Illinois in 2000 and 2004. He was an at-large superdelegate in 2008 to the DNC. Beyond his union prowess, Ed had a sharp business acumen and recognized that union pensions were a significant asset that could be leveraged to help create more opportunities for union members and to create jobs. He did everything he could to learn about that topic early in his career, and he positioned himself accordingly, serving as the chairman of the Illinois State Board of Investment and joining the Illinois Department of Labor Advisory Board. He was also chair of the Central Laborers Pension Fund and was on the Laborers National Pension Fund, where he served with Terry O'Sullivan and my father. Along the way, Ed fought to educate other labor leaders on the pension issue and to get them to take a more active approach in directing where their money went, pointing out that Wall Street doesn't give a damn about a union member. So why should we give our money to people that don't care? He was the voice for that, and he changed the way capital stewardship is done in the American labor movement. Sean McGarvey, president of North America's Building Trade Unions, credits Ed with transforming the building trade's understanding of capital stewardship and the power of pension capital. Ed carried those roles forward to Ullico in 2008, eventually becoming the company's chairman and CEO, and inviting a young guy from Tennessee to come along for the ride. Ullico was in serious trouble when Ed came aboard. We were facing some significant challenges, but instead of playing it safe, Ed offered bold leadership and strategic ideas to move our company, Labor's company, forward. As there was no labor-friendly infrastructure investment fund in the labor marketplace, Ed set out to start one. Despite vocal critics saying that it couldn't be done, he hired the right people, and he started traveling the country to convince labor leaders to invest what was then just an ambitious idea. But more than a decade later, that fund is a pillar of the company of Ullico's success. Thank you very much. Ed was proud to run a profitable union-owned company, but he was adamant that Ullico do it the right way. He made sure that the company not only served its shareholders, but we served our customers, our clients, our employees, and the communities where we work, we live, and we invest. And that was what made us different. Ed would look at me and say, and you've heard me say this if you've ever heard me speak about him, but Ed would look at me and say, Brian Hale, it's all about the people. It was no empty phrase with Ed Smith. If you met him, you knew, and if he invested in you and he cared about you, he never would let you down. He never would forget you. He sent a birthday card, handwritten birthday card to every employee at Ullico every year. He was the first person to call if there was a tragedy. He was the first person to call you and congratulate you if there was a success. We all miss getting those calls at Ullico, and we miss getting those cards. I tried to keep that tradition alive to honor him. As I close, as I look out at this crowd, it's important to note I've listed a lot of personal accomplishments, but Ed Smith was much more than a list of just professional accomplishments. He was a devoted husband to his wife and closest advisor, Betty. If you're talking to Ed, you better believe Betty Smith was listening in. She was going to give him advice on that too. She was on the other end of that speaker phone. I used to always just, when he'd call me, I'd say, hey, Betty, how are you? Doing great, Brian, you know. He was a loving father to Jordan and Matt. Matt, my union brother, I appreciate you being here. I love you, brother. But he was also a great pop to his grandkids. And he was a great friend and a wonderful mentor to me and to many, many other people in Illinois and across our country. I routinely find myself in moments of strife or struggle asking myself, what would Ed do in this situation? Well, in this particular moment, he'd probably tell me to wrap this up. So I'm going to close by saying this. Ed Smith left an indelible impact on the lives of anybody he met, but especially on the lives of working people in the state of Illinois. And I'm just thrilled to see that his accomplishments are being recognized here for decades to come. I'm proud to induct my friend and my mentor, Edward M. Smith, into the ILHS Union Hall of Honor. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Brian. And one more round of applause. Well, we're not there yet. It works. Again, some great words. And I mean, we've really heard some great speeches this evening, especially to fire us up in the fight ahead. But when we're fighting the powers and forces aligned against workers, we need leaders, just like Ed Smith, just like Eric, and like a lot of people in this room. We need you. And oftentimes I get that feeling when I hear from LiUNA General President Emeritus Terry O'Sullivan. He knows how to fire up a room. So to introduce our keynote speaker tonight, please welcome LiUNA District Council Secretary Treasurer and CFL Executive Board Member Joe Healy. Joe.
Thank you, Don. It's a great honor of mine to be able to introduce our keynote speaker tonight. As many of you know, Terry O'Sullivan was General President of LIUNA from 2000 until he retired last year. But saying Terry's retired is like saying I have a full head of hair. He's now chairman of ULICO, and he's out every day working to create jobs for union members and to secure their retirement. I've had the privilege of knowing him for longer than I've even been a member of LIUNA, and his ability to communicate, to strategize, and to lead our movement sets a standard that we all aspire to. He also has a skill that is necessary for any labor leader to be considered truly great. It's the ability to sit across a table from someone, tell them what you're going to do, and have them think, holy shit, he might actually do that. They can't call his bluff because he's not bluffing. We're blessed to have him fighting for us every day, and we're fortunate to have him here with us tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, Terry O'Sullivan.
Let me just say, thank you, Joe Healy. Let me tell you something. I've known him since he was he's still young, but I knew him when he was a lot younger. And he's one hell of a friend. He's one hell of a leader, so give it up. Thank you, Joe, for the nice comments. So this is my speech, and I'm shit-canning it, to tell you the truth, because I read it, and it bored me, so I'm not going to bore you. I first want to, I appreciate the opportunity to be here for the Illinois Labor History Society event. I've been to a few of them over the years. I think going back to 2003, I think was the first one that I was at. And I want to commend the society for the great job that they do. I mean, I have to give you credit. Almost 24 years of being general president for LIUNA. As Terry knows, 30 years at LIUNA headquarters, a 50-year member, proud member of the Labor's International Union of North America. There's not many societies like this. And that is a compliment not only to your board, to Mike, Pete, and everybody else, your executive board, and everybody, because you don't forget. And you know what? I think too many times in our country, in our society, people tend to forget. And what you do and what you stand for makes a difference. It defines the goodness and the greatness, not only of the labor movement in this state, but in this country. And on behalf of the AFL-CIO, the building trades, and the labor movement, thank you for this evening, and thank you for everything that you do. You know, first let me recognize some people that are here. You know, Matt Smith is with us, Eddie's son. Matt's the assistant regional manager for the Midwest region, doing a kick-ass job, a great labor leader, following in the footsteps of his dad. Terry Healy, you know, my brother, my friend. He was with me every step of the way at LIUNA. He was not only vice president for the Great Lakes region and regional manager, but he also happened to be and continues to be the assistant to the general president. Give it up for Terry Healy. John Penn is with us. Is John still here? There he is, right? I could beat his ass in basketball, but that aside, John, another great leader for us. John is retired, as I am. Did an incredible job for the Midwest region. When Eddie went over to ULICO, John stepped in and did a phenomenal job, John Penn and his family, like Terry Healy and his family, defined our great international union. And John, thank you for being here as well. Brian Hale, I'll tell you what, with the unfortunate passing of Eddie Smith, right, Brian Hale stepped right in, right, following in Ed's footsteps and actually creating his own footsteps. So Brian, not only a great job, but he did introducing Ed, but thanks for everything that you do. My wife is here with me, Yvette. She's our national, she runs our legislative and political department, amongst other things as well, but she's the love of my life, and thank you for being here, Eva. I'm supposed to talk about a whole bunch of shit, to tell you the truth. And when I was talking to Mike and Peter, they were like, well, a lot of people are down. Look, we got our ass beat in the election, all right? We all face it. And you got to excuse my language. If there's a priest in the house, I'll talk to him afterwards. But, we did. But we have to remind ourselves in this room tonight, right? And in this country, we are the labor movement. You are the labor movement. Our union's been around for 121 years. Eric Dean knows, and congratulations, Eric, and to the mayor. I met the mayor a couple of times, right? A hero, a champion like Eric Dean is, right? He's a friend, he's a brother. He wears his heart, on his sleeve. His word is his bond. And congratulations for a job well done. And you've just started. I may be at the end of my rope, but you're not. So thank you, Eric, for the job that you do. So let's leave here on an uplifting note. We honor, Eric and the mayor and Eddie Smith. Eddie Smith was my best friend. Eddie Smith was not only one of the greatest and best human beings that I ever met, he was one of the finest labor leaders. He cared. Right? It mattered to him to make a difference in the lives of working men and women in our country, whether they belong to our union or not. That's what defined the goodness of Eddie Smith. He cared and he fought day in and day out, right? Not only in this great state of Illinois, but throughout our country. And not just the U.S., because we have a huge membership in Canada. Eddie was a fighter, right? He never backed down. He never gave up. He was always out there. He was ready to fight. He was ready to rock and roll no matter what, right? If it made a difference in the lives of people. Eric does that. The mayor did that. And that's why we're here tonight, right? To celebrate amongst a pretty shitty outcome in the election here recently, right? But here's the thing. Here's where I have hope, right? Donald Trump, right? We have some young kids, but with all due respect, fuck Donald Trump, to tell you the truth. Right? I don't have to tell you what he is. You know what the hell he is. But at the end of the day, the best weapon we have is Donald Trump, because he's going to overreach, right? Because that's what he does. He's going to insult the people that we represent. He's going to insult everybody in this damn room and in this country, and that's what will save the Democratic Party and lead us back to victory, brothers and sisters. I laughed my ass off. My wife, she has to live with this stuff. I don't. I laughed my ass off. Matt Gaetz, are you shitting me? Right? All right. Elon Musk, are you kidding me? Robert Kennedy Jr. What the fuck was that? And I'm saying, God Almighty, he's playing right into our hands.
Jesus, Mary, and Joseph, a Democrat couldn't be that stupid, but this jackass is. And again, he's president of the United States, and I do respect that, right? He's a jackass, but he is president of the United States, right? But he will step on his tail at every damn turn, while us Democrats try and get our shit together, because we need to do that. That's for damn sure, right? Our message didn't sell, his did. Okay, right? We understand winning, we understand losing. We don't like losing, we like winning. We got 2 years, not 4 years. We'll get the House back in 2 years, right? Because he's going to screw this whole thing up. And 4 years from now, somebody will be running this country that looks like us, that fights like us, that stands for the things that we do, brothers and sisters. I believe that. So I am disappointed, disillusioned, right? But we're not throwing our hands up and saying we give, right? This society here, they didn't do that. 55 years, is it? Right? Right? Recognize the path that we have been on, that you have been on. Ups, downs. To me, to be honest, what defines us, right, in this room and in this country and in this movement is how we react and respond during the toughest of times. You know, when times are good, shit is easy, right? It falls in our lap. At the end of the day, when our backs are up against the wall, what do we do? How do we respond? How do we react? How do we challenge our members? I got to be honest. You know, I'm not president anymore, so I can say shit like this. I mean, any member of ours, we have 520,000 members thereabouts. Anybody that voted for Donald Trump, that's their prerogative. I get it. I mean, that's why we're a democracy, right? They can do what they want. But anybody that voted for Donald Trump, right, and for him to be able to destroy our way of life, I would prefer them to go to another union, to another organization, or another goddamn planet, to be quite honest. Right? Because I don't want nothing to do. And I think as we hold ourselves accountable and our members accountable, what we have to do is we need to seize the moment and the opportunity. And I mean that. So we lost, okay? Right? We're the labor movement. Our union's been around, what, Tara? 121 years. We're going to be around for another 121 years. And if I went around this room and asked what union you come from, Eric and the iWorkers, you guys are actually older, all right? We've been around for a long time. We're going to be around forever, right? This is a blip on the radar screen. Is it a big blip? Yeah, I think it is. But I also think it's a big opportunity for us to coalesce and to come together, right, and say, okay, enough is enough. Let's make sure this doesn't happen again, right? And go ahead. So I guess other than congratulating Eric and Eddie and the mayor, right, and congratulating and thanking you for never forgetting about the history, not only in this great state, but throughout this country, right? And having individuals, you know, Brian is here with me, the Ulico team. Brian's my right-hand guy, right? I'm his right-hand guy. Actually, he's the boss. I'm not. But this moment is special. This event is special. Our movement is special. And don't forget that, right? While we honor 3 heroes here tonight, you're all heroes. You all make a difference. And is that not the reason that we're here? In the labor movement, it's not about individual achievement. It's about collective advancement, all right? Whether it's in our communities, whether it's amongst our members, That's what we stand for. That's what we fight for. That's the history of the labor movement, right? That we're there to take care, right, and to help and assist those not only in their time of need, but through collective bargaining that we can make a difference. You know, when I grew up, my dad was a laborer, right? To tell you the truth, if it wasn't for the laborers union, I wouldn't be standing before you tonight. If it wasn't for the LIUNA, my dad wouldn't be able to make it. He did. He didn't have the same opportunities and chances that I did. He created those because our union gave him the ability to do so. And I bet that's not a unique story in this room, and I know it's not a unique story in our organization. God bless the labor movement. God bless our relationship with community groups, right, across this state and across this country. You know, we don't back up. We don't back down. We don't cower. When the bell rings, our ass comes out fighting. And that's what we're going to do, right, for the next 2 years, the next 4 years. And at the end of the day, once again, we will be victorious because we're on the right side of the equation, not the wrong side. And as I said, fuck Trump, go Democrats, onward to victory. And at the end of the day, thank you for everything that you do. You know what? We will be victorious. This was a setback, but it's not the end of the trail. So thank you again for having me. Thank you for everything that you do. God bless you. Feel the power, be the power, and use the power.
Thank you, Terry. Another round. Okay, after hearing that, I'm ready to fight. Oh, I see Carol's waving something back there. Again, thank you, Terry, for those inspiring words. You know, when our backs are against the wall, we get up and fight, and we're gonna be doing that. A couple things before we wrap up. I want to thank all our sponsors, and by the way, you know, just please donate, contribute to the Illinois Labor History Society. You've got like some cards on your tables. Fill them out, right? And Carol will be back there. Folks will be back there to collect it from the ILHS. So please, again, thank you. Again, thanks to our sponsors. You can see them all in the program book. Be sure you bring one home. Again, thank you for supporting Illinois Labor History. As we always do at the ILHS Union Hall of Honors, we end the night with Solidarity Forever. There you go. Come on, everybody.
When the union's inspiration to the workers much shone on, created need of power greater than anywhere beneath the sun. That one force on earth is weaker than the feeble strength of one, for the union makes us strong.
Everybody. Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever.
Solidarity forever, 'cause the union makes us strong. There is art we hold in common with the greedy parasite, fear that lashes into serfdom, who crushes with his might. For anything left to us, but organize and fight, for the union makes us strong. Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. 'Cause the union makes us strong. It is we who plow the prairies, build the cities where they trade, dug the mines and built the workshop, and endless miles are laid. We stand out standing, and wonders we have made, for the union makes us strong. Solidarity forever. is ours and ours alone. We lay the wide foundations that is skyward stone by stone. It's ours not to slave it, a master and to own, 'cause the union makes us strong. Solidarity forever, solidarity forever, solidarity forever, 'cause the union makes us strong. That they never want to earn, all without our brains and muscle, not a single wheel turn. We break their hardy power, they're free to win and learn that the union makes us strong.